The security problems are already there. Now there's a tool that can find them and exploit them fast. I think Anthropic, the makers of Claude, they've built a new model called Mythos, and it's being touted as a real step change, specifically trained to be extraordinarily good at cybersecurity. It can find vulnerabilities that have survived decades of human review and millions of automated tests, and it can exploit them. And that means the fact that we found Firefox, they posted that Firefox had 150 critical security bugs that Mythos found, exploited, and fixed. It found and exploited them in 11 minutes when it would have taken a team of researchers weeks or months. There's examples where it exploited a known vulnerability super fast compared to what would take 2 or 3 days from a researcher. So we're talking about something that the security problems are already there. Now there's a tool that can find them and exploit them fast. You always had humans that could do that, but now you've got a tool that can do it faster. If that gets into the wrong hands, are we going to treat this like a nuclear weapon where only certain people can have the power of Mythos? And that's kind of what they're doing right now. But, testing it in 7 weeks, it's scored 31 percentage points higher than the previous best model on logic problems and math Olympiads. That just kind of tells you how much leap it's made. In 7 weeks, it's found 2,000 previously unknown software vulnerabilities in major software like Linux. That's like 30% of the world's annual 0-day output in 7 weeks, right? So just to give you that scale, that's what I think is interesting about the Mythos conversation. And then the last thing I would tag on that is, this is the first time a frontier AI lab has said, we built something so much more powerful and cooler that it's too powerful to sell to you, and we can't give it to everybody. That's kind of a watershed moment, in my opinion. And, if you like to be a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, think about Terminator 3 and what it meant when they finally had the thing that was too big to be too risky and then released it. I don't know. I'm not saying we're living in Hollywood, but there's a lot of parallels. For historical context, the first time since GPT-2 came out in 2019, a major lab has decided that their model was too dangerous to ship publicly. That's an interesting new piece of our history, right? They did a restricted release to about 50 orgs under what they call Project Glasswing. So they're giving it to Microsoft, Google, Amazon, AWS, NVIDIA, JP Morgan, these big guys that if they just got massively hacked by a super smart AI, the fabric of society would crumble. So, okay, they're being responsible. But, this also isn't just theoretical. The NSA's been testing it on Microsoft products for the last 10 days. The implication here to me is that the frontier capability and broad access to frontier capabilities have been decoupled now. So I kind of see it as the decoupling is the story more than the model. The fact that we are now producing things that are dangerously good and controlling who gets to access it, that's an interesting philosophical point we are in humanity, maybe. What does that lead to? I think that's the interesting reason to pay attention to this. Well, so Mythos making the news about being super powerful and not being released to everybody. And we think, okay, cool, they're keeping it under wraps, right? But OpenAI mocked Anthropic for doing that, saying, oh, it's just marketing. They're just trying to beef up scarcity or demand. And then literally Thursday, 4 days ago on my calendar, OpenAI announced GPT 5.5 Cyber with the exact same restricted access pattern. So if you're just limiting this stuff to government agencies, critical infrastructure, security vendors, financial institutions, and having these trusted access for cybersecurity bots, both of these two leading flagship companies independently arrived at the same conclusion. These tools are too powerful for unrestricted access. So that validates everything the security professionals have been warning about. The last 2-3 years, we've been saying AI is about to fundamentally change the offense-defense balance. Your code being written by AI, is it secure? Your processes, are they secure? Are you using AI to simulate? Are you using AI to defend against? Are you using AI to triage? Like, this is now a big part of the conversation we can't ignore anymore. And if you think Anthropic having the most powerful model that we can't give to everybody, followed by OpenAI giving the most powerful model we can't give to anybody, what's next? My logical conclusion is it's going to be Alibaba or DeepSeek or Quen or the Chinese government. And it's not going to be under bottled for very long, right? This is the trend we're seeing now. So one place I think is interesting to talk about there is what it means for businesses, especially like private equity portfolio companies. If those big labs are holding back their best models for security reasons, every business needs to ask, are we ready for what's coming when these things get out? Restricted release doesn't mean restricted forever. Capabilities diffuse. One guy already hacked his way in to be able to get access to the model. And the open weight models will catch up. They've been basically 6 months behind in capability, but that gap is closing. It could be 3 months or 2 months away. We could just be weeks away from hearing of this restricted release being just open now. The cat's out of the bag. And at Facet, for our private equity clients especially, we're saying AI security readiness in your investment diligence is no longer a nice to have. It's definitely a diligence question. And the window to get your security posture right is now, not when the capabilities to hack it are widespread. And companies that assessed AI readiness 6 months ago, they need to reassess now. The landscape's different. And so I think from a business perspective, you really need to be thinking about what's going to happen at the next level of maturation, not just on, how can we make more money, but what is that going to empower our competitors with, and where are the existential threats from things like cybersecurity? I teeter the fence between optimistic and pessimistic and skeptical. So let me give you a little bit of healthy skepticism on this. Some of this is legitimately scary, and some of it is just great PR for Anthropic and OpenAI. They've shown a pattern of this. The cybersecurity community out there is generally split on whether Mythos is qualitatively new or just faster. Is it new matters less than what do we do about it, though? And the answer is the same either way. Audit your dependencies. Patch aggressively. Assume the bad guys catch up soon. Either way, I think the news should be a blunt reminder that your 2026 security playbook needs a rewrite and a level up and some attention.